It's your morning addiction.
This is a battle that must be fought.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team.
And go hit the ground hard and relentlessly.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Is impeachment.
Well, that was a little fisticuffs. Well, no, actually spray-a-cuffs last night. Welcome into Wake Up Missouri. Up in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar giving a speech talking for Kristi Noem's impeachment, and a guy sitting in the second row right in front of her takes a syringe and sprays her with something. He's wrestled to the ground by security people. She wants to go on, and she says an expletive deleted. I can't play, but an interesting happenstance. Stephanie, this is only going to fire up this the back and forth between the left and the right, and the pro-violence up there, and those who say, there you go, you guys on the right are equally at accomplices in this. Some people online saying this is a false flag because if you look at it in slow motion from a camera right in front of her, she looks up briefly at him and there's a head nod. Now, maybe that was just speaking. Did you see that? John? Marsh, did you see that?
I missed that one, I guess.
Yeah. You go and you look at this, and I wish we ought to put this up on our Facebook page. But in slow motion, she's speaking, and I looked at a lot of the speech before that. Conspiracy theory program of the air here. Welcome into Wake Up Missouri, 573-874-9390. Put on your tinfoil hats.
An hour.
Huh?
Welcome to the Candace.
Yeah, look here. So look at this. Here we go. Watch this. So she's generally gazing from side to side. Then she briefly looks up at him. She squares up. He squirts her in the chest. And I don't know. I'm just saying, take a look at this. You tell me. I think there may be something there. At any rate, and then he seems like he's crazed. So maybe it's a false flag operation is what some people are saying in order to foment anger and more dissension between the pro-Somali fraud people, the pro-rapist and murderers in Minneapolis, and those who want to clean things up. And if you want to clean things up, now you're going to be identified as someone who sprayed Ilhan Omar with some kind of foul-smelling juice, whatever it is. I don't know what they said. It doesn't smell good. I don't know.
I think that it was poo water, and she didn't notice that it was poo water because she's from Somalia. That's what I think.
Not a bad deduction.
That's not bad. Couldn't tell the difference, yeah. And she wanted to go on and keep speaking, and some big guy that looks like a bouncer at Harpo's,
When's the last time you were at Harpo's?
Oh, I've walked by there several times.
That was an awesome grab. I mean, Randy, I didn't know that you knew about Harpo's.
Of course I know about Harpo. What do you think?
Oh, my
goodness. I've lived a sheltered stamp collector's rock tumbling life my whole life? No.
No, but aren't you from St. Louis? I thought did you party much in?
I played the club scene for years, buddy.
Yeah, but did you do that? Oh, yeah.
I know more about bouncers and clubs than you'll ever know in a million years, dude.
No, I'm just wondering, do you know Columbia bars? Do you, did you do much of that in your youth?
Well, I don't know. I'm waiting for Jill Schluty to have broken glass policy to make it safe to go downtown after dark, and then I'll start knowing more. No, she'll do that. She's already doing that. Okay, so at any rate, this is one of the big news stories this morning. Tim Walz, after the initial conciliatory talk, comes out and says, we're not going to assist in federal law enforcement, immigration enforcement. He said that.
Shocker.
So are we back to ground zero now? Are we back to clean slate board? Nothing's changed? I think so. We're going to talk with Frank Catanzaro later on at 8:08. You know why? Frank's the head of the Young Republicans in Missouri. When I ask him what the temperature of young Republican engagement is ahead of these midterms, are the people in his flock, are they just sort of complacent? Are they just shaking their heads going, I was hoping to, be able to afford an apartment. I was hoping to be able to maybe think about buying a home. What have you done for me, Donald Trump? Or are they like, no, I'm patient. I can wait. The Trump agenda will unfold.
Gen Z and patient in the same sentence. Ooh, don't hold your breath.
coming from the millennial. I just want to let everyone know.
There you go. And we're now 3 days. Well, today, tomorrow, and then Friday. If they don't get something done by Friday, the Senate, they're barreling toward a partial shutdown again. And we're talking about major areas of the government again going unfunded, again going into this emergency mode. I looked for a Chuck Schumer clip, like I'm not going to vote for it clip for y'all to hear. And he used the F word.
Really?
I mean, he looks on his own what is with these politicians using the F word like it's just every day, like over a cup of coffee with the kids in tow at the playground? I mean, I don't understand this. We've just degraded into conversation that it would make a drunken sailor embarrassed. No?
Yeah, you almost start ignoring it inside the newscast where everybody's saying, "Oh, the president said," and this politician said, and the mayor of Minneapolis said. It's just like, dropping the F-bomb. It's about every other story.
I just this is where I think we have opportunity. Watch them just self-immolate. Watch them continue to make themselves look bad with that kind of language. And when they denigrate their own integrity and their own posture and, standing with that kind of language, I don't care what they say in the coat room, in the bowels of the Congress. That's fine, whatever.
Locker room talk.
Yeah.
On the golf course.
Yeah, but but I think for public consumption, need to reel it in a little bit, right, Drake? Yeah.
Okay, I have a theory about this. I think that Trump didn't win on issues or anything. I thought that he won because he was the most real, down-to-earth politician in that race. I mean, that sounds crazy to say that Trump was the most down-to-earth, but Kamala Harris was putting on accents and all of this other stuff seeming really fake, and I think that's what won the Gen Z male vote for Trump, was that he was very real. You can't fake it when you're on a 3-hour podcast with Joe Rogan. And I think the left is trying to kind of emulate that by swearing because everyone swears, right?
Yeah, so it's a really cheap imitation. It's like a bad 3D replica of a gun. It's not a real gun.
I'm not super mad about the F word, but I would much rather hear like Kennedy-isms. He's got some sick burns and creative insults. Those are my favorite. Like, let's get back to when Trump just called everyone, used alliteration and had like a funny nickname for everybody. Yep. Let's get back to sombreros or something rather than
have some fun with it. If you're going to be that way, be humorous, be sarcastic, have fun. I saw a couple of posts online. It was a little dark humor, but they called this guy, Pretty, who got killed, got himself, couldn't extricate himself from a brawl there, and he ended up getting himself killed. People referring to him as Pretty Boy and, everything. Apparently a pretty decent guy. I mean, as far as his professional life and his personal life goes, just behaviorally confused as to what's appropriate behavior and what's not. But I think that goes back to a theme we've talked about before in the program. We seem to have lost our triptych. For those of you who, before the time of smartphones and Google Maps, when you were going to go on a long vacation, a driving vacation. I used to love that. You'd go down to the AAA and you'd sit down and say, I want to go up to Northern California and have, visit wine country up there or something. And say, I want a triptych and we want to stop by and go to the Great Meteor crater down there in Arizona and then work our way up through Bakersfield. And the guy would take and they would assemble. Remember that, John? Remember triptychs? You don't know? Do you know triptychs?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Triptychs. Yeah, my dad, my career Air Force pilot dad, handled his own driving/flight plans.
It was so fun. So they would have these. You know how they would have these little plastic binders. That little like ring binders, little plastic binders, like you can make a report out of. A report. Do you know what a report is? An actual printed report, Stephanie? Remember those?
I had one of those big machines that you could put the plastic binder ring on things,
Well, these are the little ones.
Pull the lever.
Yes, pull the lever. And you had to put it in there and it opened up and then you fed all the pages on there and you had like a special punch.
Well, a triptych was like it was about, 8 or 10 inches long by maybe 4 inches wide. And they could put different parts of your trip. So they would take the big map and you decide where you want to go. Then they would take elements of every part of your trip and they would actually take a marker and draw them out and where you do your little side trip and like old Route 66.
Like you're Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, it'd be great. And then, but it was like a personalized a personalized concierge for your trip.
I mean, my parents always used to have like an old atlas, and they would buy like the state we were going to, and that big thing. And yeah, I mean, I've seen the sketches, and they're like, all of a sudden you've got the map, and you're, the person you're like a really important person if you're riding shotgun, right?
Yes.
Like you're the navigator.
Yep.
Then you're driving, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, we're off the map, and then they're like, hey, flip it over, and it just continues on the other.
Yeah,
side.
but I mean, like, so if you're the navigator in the days of maps, you could decide, if you're heading down 44 West, you could decide if you're going to go to Uranus or Bolivar. Think about that. It's an important distinction. You could decide that, Drake.
But
That's very important.
But you won't know in real time. Like when I was driving back from Nashville, and they're like, you need to exit now. And I'm like, why am I exiting off of 70? They're like, 70 is a parking lot. Get on 50. A map won't, like those old maps wouldn't have told you that.
Good point.
But that's what CBs were for. Remember CBs? Good buddy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then you had to stick your antenna with magnet on the back of the hood, and then pretty soon it left a big mark there, and it marred your trunk lid. Remember?
And you just talk to the truckers?
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, good buddy.
They keep you out of trouble too.
Oh my gosh.
Channel 19.
Ooh, baby. Oh, I remember my dad's first CB. It was. Oh, he would carry that puppy. He'd carry the receiver in like a padded box foam. You would talk, he was Mr. Mission Impossible guy, Yeah, Jim, this tape will self-destruct in 10 seconds should you decide not to accept this mission. Welcome to the nostalgia edition of Wake Up Missouri.
Paper maps and CB radios, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I don't know. It's a wacky world. Where I was going with all this was
talk about detours.
where I was going with all this is there used to be a place where there were maps for behavior in society. Sometimes my ADHD gets the best of me, guys.
We've noticed.
I didn't take the Ritalin this one. No, but there used to be maps on one hand and guardrails on the other, and now we have none. You can do what you want to do. If I want to be a nice guy and a nurse, I'll be a nice guy. If I want to get in the way of ICE agents, I'll do that because my roadmap is my roadmap, and no one else is going to tell me where to go.
Randy's going to start passing out life. What is it? Triptychs?
Yeah, life triptychs with Randy. It's going to become a regular feature here on Wake Up Missouri. When we come back in a few minutes, 573-874-9390. Would you bring some sanity to the program, please? Text us.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Our economy is booming, incomes are rising, investment is soaring, inflation has been defeated. Our border is closed, totally closed. And America is respected all over the world like they've never been respected. 1 year, I thought it would take us 2 years.
That was President Trump. Here's Stephanie with the Daily DC Rundown.
Well, the message comes from President Trump yesterday as he was in Iowa. He's expected to visit many other states ahead of the midterms with a message about his plan and what he's been up to. However, it is not landing with consumers thus far. Consumer confidence plunged to 84.5, the lowest level since 2014, below expectations. Apparently, Americans cited high gas and grocery costs as concerns. They also mentioned politics, labor market worries, and something we've been talking about a lot, health insurance costs. So it's not looking great there. We also have the Fed meeting, and we are expecting that they are going to announce, well, they're going to announce their decision today. We're expecting that they're going to hold rates steady. Of course, despite Trump's comments there, inflation is still above the Fed target. And so they are expected to be cautious today and hold rates steady. At the same time, Trump is going to be speaking today at the Treasury Summit about the new Trump accounts for babies. Apparently, you can register now with your tax filing, even though the accounts launch July 5th. You get one-time $1,000 stock market deposit from the Treasury if you have kids born from January 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2028. So you can still take part if you don't have somebody that qualifies.
I heard
already.
him talking this morning about how you'd have almost $200,000 by age 18. That's not if you start out with 1,000 and let it grow. You have to continue to add pretty maximally to get there.
Well, and if you don't qualify for that, kids under 10 who don't qualify get a $250 one-time payment if you have a household income under $150,000. Of course, that's funded by that huge donation by the Dells.
Michael Dell and his wife, yeah.
Right. And if you're looking for the form to fill out to register, it's not called the Trump form because, the forms are numbered. But guess what it's called?
What?
4547.
Oh, no. Really? Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Form 40, you're not kidding.
No,
Form 4547.
I am not kidding. I know that was going to trigger you, Randy. So we are also hearing more about the government shutdown. Well, first, let's talk about the lawsuit. We talked about that already. This lawsuit in L.A. from a young girl, a 20-year-old now, who started using social media as a child. Apparently, Snapchat settled last week, and TikTok settled just before the case went to trial. That leaves Meta and YouTube still as defendants in this trial over social media. We are also headed toward a government shutdown on Friday night. Of course, there are, I think, 6 bills that the House passed that we're hoping that the Senate's going to pass. Chuck Schumer says he wants that DHS bill separated. That's a problem because they need unanimous support in the Senate to split the bills, and that's very unlikely. The Republicans are trying to convince the Democrats to push it through to prevent the shutdown, saying that the bill includes money for things like body cameras and de-escalation training. But that argument seems to be falling pretty flat. At the same time, Trump, you heard him say there that the border is closed. He's also saying with respect to Kristi Noem that she's doing a very good job and the border is totally secure, but Hakeem Jeffries is threatening impeachment if Trump doesn't fire her.
They only have a few words in their playbook, right? Impeachment, shutdown, Nazi, fascist, Gestapo. Yeah, that's the party I want to be a part of.
Good luck.
Back with more on Wake Up when we return. Eric Schmidt has a few thoughts about shutdown and the Schumer crowd. Stay tuned.
when you zoom out and take a look at what this is all about is illegal immigration is effectively the Democrats' religion right now. It is a central plank of their party. They haven't come to grips with the fact that President Trump ran on this issue. It was front and center in front of voters. They saw the 20 million people who came here illegally under the Joe Biden era, and they wanted to change. And so they wanted change. And so the Democrats, again, haven't accepted the election results. This is their latest tantrum. We're going to move forward with this legislation. And by the way, it's not just DHS funding. I mean, there is DHS funding, obviously, part of this. But, you got another winter storm coming. FEMA funding is a part of this. Defense funding is a part of it. It reminds me of like a 2-year-old toddler kicking and screaming and whining about something, all to sort of score political points.
That's Eric Schmidt with Harris Faulkner yesterday saying, these Democrats, it's going to be Schumer shutdown number 2, the way we're barreling towards Fridays. Apparently Thune doesn't have the votes, according to Schumer. And like Senator Schmidt says, I mean, there are a lot of services, a lot of critical government agencies that will be impacted should this shutdown occur. I guess at this point, looking at the polling, looking at some of the dissatisfaction within the conservative ranks and Republican ranks with Donald Trump that is showing in the polls, and independents especially, the Democrats must be looking at that, Stephanie, and saying this is politically expedient. They think there's more to gain than they lose out of this.
I feel like I'm a bad omen because I'm headed to D.C. in like 2 months, and I think last time I was there was a shutdown.
No, it won't. It'll be solved by then.
How?
Well, do they really want to? I mean, if the Republicans should get ahead of this, I'm surprised we haven't heard more of that conversation. This is not just about ICE. This is about FEMA, about defense, about Treasury. I mean, it's about Treasury. This is about the Somali fraud investigations and stuff. I mean, this has a lot to do with that. It's troubling to me that the Democrat senators can't understand that they're trying to carve out a lot more than just their little problem they have with ICE. They've got a real axe to grind against ICE. I did find out, though, some, we've been talking about Trump derangement syndrome. It's now coalescing into a bunch of symptoms that you can look for you medical folks out there. If someone comes into your office with uncontrollable Twitter rants, with rectal thinking, that's very important, rectal thinking, constitutional rashes, blurred visions of Hitler, that's very important, if they're having a symptom of that. And maybe some of you may know people in your own family, your own workplace. Severe bouts of denial, irony deficiency. Irony deficiency is another symptom. And loss of kale appetite, liberal groupthink, sleep whining. If they're whining in their sleep, they may be developing Trump derangement syndrome. Inability to rationalize, shortness of safe spaces, weight loss, that would be WAIT loss, erectile dysfunction, or is that electoral dysfunction, and fear of cheese puffs. They may be having Trump derangement syndrome.
What would be the medical protocol to cure this disease?
Well, I don't think counseling. I think at this point you probably need the same kind of medicine that they would give you in the long-term mental institution. Haldol.
Exorcism.
That's a thought.
Well, there is a new bishop in New York,
Force feeding
a new cardinal.
McDonald's quarter pounders and KFC 3 times a day.
I think some riding shotgun in a big, F-250, F-350, whatever, a 3/4 or 1-ton truck, taking that down, down into the Ozarks, or even, down into Branson country and Springfield country, and taking them into the backwoods and giving them some good old riding around the pickup truck, maybe some four-wheeling. That might cure it. I don't know. Just some things that good old...
Or if nothing else, take them out in the boonies and kick them out of the truck.
Red
right?
blood. I don't know. TDS is a tough one. It's recalcitrant. I mean, they see a lady get shot up there because she either rammed her car into an ICE agent or was trying to escape and erroneously hit him. And still, this guy puts himself into harm's way. At some point, So there's things that I think there are people truly that are suffering from some kind of mental illness. Call it TDS. I'm sure there's some more traditional term for it. And what is it about nurses? We talked about the nurse who wants to be, who wants Caroline Leavitt to be ripped from stem to stern when she delivers her baby. It's just, it's horrid. It makes me shudder to think of that. She lost her job. Here's one at VCU Health. This nurse has some other ideas of what to do with ICE agents. And it's just, you look at this. This is another nurse, a nurse, for crying out loud.
Tip, I vote. Anybody got any poison ivy, poison oak in their yard? Get some of that up with gloves, obviously. Get it in some water, like a gallon of water. Get the poison ivy oak water, and I'm going to put it into a water gun. Aim for faces, hands. Are the single ladies where these ICE guys are going have a chance to do something, not without risk, but could help the cause for sure? Get on Tinder, get on Hinge, find these guys. They're around. They're an ICE agent. Bring some X-Lax and put it in their drinks. Get them sick. Nobody's going to die. Just enough to incapacitate them and get them off the street for the next day.
So you're going to spray poison oak and poison ivy water onto the agents. And you're going to basically that's chemical warfare against them. And then she's wanting to give them X-Lax to basically poison their food or their,
That's a
nurse.
felony.
And then there's this guy, Eric Martindale, now in a now deleted Facebook post. He works in Florida as well. I think he must be a nurse anesthetist. He's going to refuse to put MAGA to sleep. So if you mention that you're, if you wear your Trump hat in, or if you have anything on you that may indicate that you're MAGA or say anything, he's not going to take care of it. He says, "I run my own business," in the now deleted tweet. He later claimed he was hacked. But it was like, I run my own business. I'll put to sleep who I want to put to sleep. I guess he's an independent contractor. I don't know. Some of the nurse practitioners do that, the nurse anesthetist. What is it about nurses of all people? I understand if you run a hardware store and you just, don't come into my store with your MAGA hat on. Okay, whatever. Nurse?
They have a professional license.
Yeah, well, what happened to the Nightingale and, all of that goes into nursing? These are truly angels. If you've ever needed medical care and a nurse has cared for you, you know what I mean. They're just angels. And I don't understand. I guess the devil was an angel gone wrong. Isn't that the story? Something like that? Maybe these are just the devils now. It's just really hard to fathom that there are people out there who treat people differently based on their politics. When I'm faced throughout the years, when I've been, had a patient come in who I know is left and they talk about it, we either have a conversation, or if we don't, I always make sure and whatever, to the best of my ability, even step it up more. If there's any way I can show more graciousness, more timeliness, more whatever, I haven't done perfection, try to do, because you want to set a good example. You want to show that we're not hateful people, because that's the default narrative that they have. Remember, who was the guy? Dean, the candidate for the Democrat candidate, wasn't he from Indiana? Dean. Anyway, he was a flash in the pan candidate in the last election cycle. And remember, he stood in line with MAGA people at the Trump events. And he's a moderate Democrat. And he said, I expected these people to be hateful and bigoted and racist and the nicest people in the world. He said, we got to get along, folks. Just because we disagree doesn't mean that we have to be disagreeable. Nurses, for crying out loud. It's amazing.
Who was the gal in St. Louis who was going to nursing school? You know who I'm talking about.
Was it Kim Gardner?
No, Kim Gardner was the prosecutor there, right?
Right.
She was going to nursing school. Oh, my God.
Wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
That was her. Yeah.
Yeah, and allegedly that's why she didn't show up for court, right? People in her
allegedly.
office were claiming they were ill, and
She was
didn't
doing
show up.
clinicals, so she didn't make the courtroom, huh?
That was an interesting thing. I didn't realize that when the prosecutor doesn't show up, and I don't know whether some judges can or do have some grace, but apparently some of these perps got off, right? Because they didn't show up.
I mean, usually they have underlings that could show up, but I don't know. I don't practice criminal law. But
Is that part of the rules, though? I mean, if you don't show up, the other side wins? Yeah?
Not generally if you have a good excuse, I don't think.
Yeah.
Usually they'll continue it and allow, I mean, they want everyone to be there. But
yeah, judge can dismiss or even, put sanctions against the state side if you don't have the prosecutor's side show up.
What do you need? Maybe a note from your doctor that you were sick. That was allegedly what had happened. And then she didn't show up, but it turned out she was taking a nursing exam or something.
I think she was habitually MIA.
Yeah. You know, this thing about I had the darndest thing happen once. I wrote a work excuse for a person, works at the postal office. And later on, there'd been a couple of them in like 6 or 8 months, 12 months. It wasn't like rapid fire excuses because they'd been to see me. And then we heard that the supervisor thought that the doctor's excuse that was presented by the employee, my patient, was fraudulent, was fake, was made up. You know what I told that employee? I said, you got a good, strong union there in the postal office. You go to your union boss.
That he's just writing his own doctor's notes at home or something?
You got a problem. Can you imagine that?
I don't know. I've never worked in an office that I had to have a doctor's office note.
John, can you imagine that happening?
Yeah, been there, done that.
Oh, you've written fraudulent work excuse notes?
No, but I've had them. I had them back in the day. Had them questioned. a couple
I don't
times.
think HR is in. I'll let them know after this.
They're listening to the music station. No, not here. But yeah, previous had them questioned. It was like, and my doctor's reaction was much the same as yours.
Man,
he goes, "Have them call me."
I think trust is lost. No one trusts anything, anywhere, anyhow, anymore. We have just lost trust in America of almost everything. And now AI, memes aren't helping it, and AI, you don't know what's true and what isn't anymore. I don't know. Well, one thing I know is true. There's a few fruits that are good for you to eat if you want to be healthy. We're going to talk about those when we come back. You? Well, some are especially good for you. Well, all fruits are better than fruit juice.
Or the Skittles Drake ate for breakfast yesterday.
Just like all maps and triptychs are better than electronic Google Maps.
Wrong again.
Back with Make Missouri Healthy again in a moment.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
So, we talk about the new food guidelines here on the show a lot, how they've really done a good job by turning the food pyramid upside down. And grains used to be at the top, and now they're not. Quality proteins and vegetables, especially non-starchy vegetables, they're up at the top. And, of course, fruits, too. But, it's always said, when we ask people in the office, do you eat your fruits and do you eat your vegetables and fruits? They go, yeah, I eat my fruits and vegetables. Who doesn't like a sweet bit of fruit, right? An orange, an apple, a banana, whatever. And fruits are good for you. We always like vegetables, too. But if you're going to eat fruits, there are 9 ones, according to a longevity researcher, that may be the healthiest for you. I don't disagree with these. I think, frankly, any fruit is better than no fruit at all. That's what he says. There's no bad fruit. And guess what's number 1 on the list? John, Stephanie, Drake, number 1 list or category of fruits that are very, 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 very good for you. Slip.
Blueberries.
Oh, berries in general. This aging expert, Dr. Johnston, says, I always prioritize berries every single day. We eat a lot of berries. We eat a lot of blackberries, blueberries, some raspberries. I don't know. The ones raspberries tend to go mushy quickly. They're my favorites. Helene
Put
likes
them in the freezer.
Yeah, you can freeze them. And you know what? You can buy them frozen and they stay nice and fresh that way. And you pop them out and put them in your smoothie or just eat them. I have to admit, we do occasionally like a little bit of that little spray, the spray whipped cream on there, A little bit of that on a Saturday morning. It's not bad. Well, now that we can do that, our little half and half, now that dairy fats are okay for you, there you go.
Do you buy like the can at the grocery store, or do you have one because now they make the ones where you can dump the liquid in and it foams it itself?
I didn't know that. No.
Oh.
No, I'll tell you the story sometime. I have little Shep, the 1-year-old, and now the little 1-year-old Sable. I have them trained. I'm working on it. When they come into the house, all I have to do is open the refrigerator door and the hand goes out, because I've done this little thing where the hand goes out, I spray a little on there, and then up to the mouth it goes. And it's like a reflex. It's like Pavlov.
I'm sure Mom and Dad appreciate you chalking their kids full of sugar.
Well, it's called it a bribe. But, I mean, come on. We're not in Somalia, for crying out loud. It's a good bribe. It's a grandpa bribe. All right. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, all great options. Now, think about this. When you think about fruits, have you ever seen a blueberry get sunburned? No. Have you ever seen a strawberry? They don't get sunburned. Have you ever seen kale on the vegetable class? Why don't they get sunburned? Because they have protective plant chemicals in them called polyphenols and other beautiful, beautiful things that they have. And all of these have great fiber, too. 1 serving of raspberries, 1 serving has 30% of the daily value of fiber that you need. Think about that. Get your vitamin C, your K, your potassium, magnesium. But the healthiest berry is blueberry.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just bring a toothbrush if you eat blueberries before your breakfast meeting. It gets stuck in the teeth.
What if I bake it into a muffin? Or a pancake? Or a waffle?
You don't get credit for the blueberry in the greasy, flour-laden muffin.
Well, how about if you eat them on the side while you're the one making the blueberry pancakes? Need a few raw ones.
Okay, well, you probably do get some credit. It gives you a little force field. It's like the Star Trek force field. The more berries and colorful fruits and vegetables you eat, you get a little force field. So then when you eat think of starches and bad fats, seed oils as sort of the Klingons, Jim, I can't keep the force field up more. Oh, Scotty, eat more blueberries. That's what you need to do. Papaya, apples, kiwis, oranges, bananas. You like bananas, right, Steph?
I love them.
Great in fiber, great in potassium. Grapes are good for you. You got to watch it. A lot of calories sometimes for the buck. Avocado is a fruit. Eat lots of avocado. And figs. Very, very good for you. New news on the ICE attack front and more from DHS. Stay tuned.
ICE cannot be reformed. It cannot be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE for good. And DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
Well, that's a little bit of what happened yesterday during a Ilhan Omar town hall meeting last evening. She's talking about abolishing ICE and about impeaching Kristi Noem for overstatement and too early of description of what was happening there during that shooting incident on Saturday morning. No doubt, I think it's objectively true that Kristi Noem probably got it wrong, did get it wrong in terms of what was going on there. But never mind that. This guy sitting in the second row right in front of Ilhan Omar jumps out and squirts her with some kind of unknown fluid that apparently had a foul odor. And then she gets up, and after they tackled him to the ground, security people, she's over there wanting to, or as they're trying to tackle him, she's going after him like, I'm going to get this guy. The very first comment or second one under that says, I hope the FBI investigates that guy. Just needed a head nod. And if you look at the slow motion, she's looking from side to side, as public speakers will do, looking from side to side. Then she glances briefly at him and nods. There's a nod, and he attacks her. Just saying, I don't know. I don't want to do Alex Jones here. Just saying, that's among the possibilities is a false flag operation. Probably not true. Probably this is a bad hit for, quote, our side, those who suspect in light of some new information that Ilhan Omar may have been in one way or another, either complicit or complacent or whatever, maybe more involved with some kind of Somali fraud and abuse. How do you go from $1,000 to like 50 million or whatever, 35 million in your account in a matter of a year, right, Stephanie? How does that happen? And I know they're investigating her finances, her husband's finances, the winery that never made any wine. They don't even, their website is like something that your kids would do a better job of the website, apparently, you know. So there's a lot going on there. And new information coming out of the investigation. DHS, well, I guess it was Customs and Border Patrol Service, said that 2 federal agents fired their weapons during the shooting on Saturday. It was originally thought that there was maybe 1, but there were 2 agents that fired their weapons. Some other details coming out that what they said was that Pretty resisted CBP personnel's efforts and a struggle ensued. During the struggle, a BPA agent, a Border Patrol agent, yelled, "He's got a gun," multiple times, the report said. I'm quoting here. Approximately 5 seconds later, a BPA discharged his Border Patrol-issued Glock 19, and a Border Patrol officer also discharged his Glock 47 at Pretty. After the shooting, an agent advised that he had possession of Pretty's firearm. Some more news coming out. There's talk that the body cam footage may come out and be public at some point, so we don't know about that. But certainly there were, I think it was either Noem or maybe Stephen Miller, I think it was Noem, who said that basically he had assaulted the officers and was brandishing. He didn't brandish a gun. Let's be honest about it. But as we've determined, and as we've heard from Don Weaver, who does attorney work for police officers across the state, he was in studio. He told us the legal standard is that it has to be, the actions of the officer have to be adjudicated through the lens and the perspective of the officer at the time of the incident, not with slow motion, frame by frame, retrospectoscopic analysis. And, what would a reasonable person do if they think their life or those of others are in danger at the moment?
And what the officer knew at the time, not necessarily what we learned later. And
that's other interesting news that comes in and that I think provides another bit of some color to this whole story, a little embellishment. Alex Pretty had a rib broken in a confrontation with federal agents just a week before. Did you see that?
But you think the agents who fired their gun knew that?
Federal immigration officers, CNN did this whole expose, and now they're all over immigration officials because there's a couple of them saying, you know what, I think there's a video of someone I don't even know if it's Minneapolis, where a video of an agent allegedly saying to someone, basically, you speak your piece and I'll take care of things. I'll make sure that you can't speak your piece, something like that. That's not fair, right? If that happened, that wasn't good. People should be allowed to speak and say what they want to say. But according to CNN, this is sources, anonymous sources, here we go again. They didn't want to say anything for fear of retribution. And DHS say they have no record of this incident. So this is what CNN is spewing out. But sources told them that about a week before his death, Pretty suffered a broken rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting their attempt to detain other individuals. He seems to have a history. Maybe he is such a good guy that he is going to insert himself and be the Sir Lancelot of Camelot, to come in and save people from the brutal attacks of the evil Nazi Gestapo agents. That's probably what's going on here. The guy probably views himself as some kind of a savior of these people that, in his view, are under unwarranted assault by the federal agents. That's the narrative that he believes, I think, because it's been painted by this well-organized and well-funded network. And some of the real-time signal chats have been coming out, Stephanie, that and they're involving state representatives, allegedly the lieutenant governor. So this is a well-coordinated effort, and these people get sort of caught up in this almost cult-like belief that if someone in their group says that the ICE agent is wrong, the ICE agent is always wrong, the ICE agent is always abusive of their power and snatching people, I call it the ICE rapture, snatching people off the street. They just disappear. People are disappearing.
You got to remember how blue the Twin Cities in Minnesota are. The state that brought you Hubert Humphrey and Walter Mondale.
I know. And I begrudgingly went to a conference up there a couple of years ago. I told the organizers up there, it's a great conference for direct primary care, the movement we're part of. And I said, what in the world are you guys doing? I couldn't believe it. Right across, that really frosted my buns, to use a Gary Nolan term. Right across, we were in this nice hotel. You go to these conferences, you spend way too much money for a room. I just want a bed and a shower. I just want to go to the conference. I don't need a fancy schmancy deal. Anyway, you got to do that. So you do that right every time you walk out the door. And looking out the window is a beautiful Gothic architecture, huge Presbyterian church. All the Gothic architecture from one stone to another almost, covered in rainbow flags and rainbow banners and rainbow murals. Like a Presbyterian church. It's just very disturbing. But that's the way Minnesota's gone. And then when we walk down the street to go, of course, not surprisingly, when we walked to go to dinner or lunch and got out of the hotel, I saw people giving Narcan shots, EMS giving Narcan shots to homeless people that were overdosing. It looked like a post-apocalyptic scene. I thought, oh boy, yeah, this is welcome to a blue city in America. So does it matter that he was known to and had a scuffle with law enforcement before? I would think it would be, right? I mean, I don't know what the official, never mind official policy. Law enforcement officers are human beings. And your antenna and your radar is going to be more finely tuned to someone who has had a beef with you and your colleagues before and has had a physical altercation with them. You're probably, I don't know whether the particular officers involved on Saturday knew of what had gone on with this guy previously. I would assume there's some kind of informal chat that goes on. I don't know.
Hard to say on something like that, whether, the two incidents that the earlier incident it happened in the same neck of the woods.
Yeah, we don't know.
The same bunch of agents. You don't know.
Meanwhile, we talked about Walz calling in the National Guard and saying that we played this tape of the National Guard handing out donuts and hot chocolate to protesters. I saw this guy who was I think we'll do this when we come back, but there's this guy who is an attorney and a self-defense expert. And I found this very nice explanation of, sort of the officer's actions in light of Alex Pretty's actions. And I thought it was a very, very nice exposition of exactly how to look at these things. And so we'll play that when we come back after a little break that we'll take here. And later on at 7:35, we talk with Jonathan Savage from Fox News about ICE agents that will have a security role, oh boy, at the upcoming Winter Olympics.
Do you want to tell the listeners what you told me whenever I told you that?
I thought you said Milan. I didn't know. I didn't see the show sheet. I had Milan. I thought maybe summer. I don't know. I don't follow things till they're on me, right? Till it's like they're. So it's the Winter Olympics. I thought it was Summer Olympic. I don't know.
The Summer Olympics in 26, yes.
When are the Summer Olympics? 28?
Yeah, 28. You know where they're going to be in 28?
Oh.
They're going to be in L.A.
Really?
Yeah, the Olympics are coming here.
Oh. Well, that'll reduce the performance capacity of the athletes with all the smog out there in L.A.
Yeah,
Probably will.
This is a very niche thing that I'm into. You know how there's the Paralympics, right?
Yes. Boy, that is a super. Now that grabs me. The Paralympics.
It's super cool.
It is very cool.
Have you watched Paralympic fencing before?
No.
So it's usually people in wheelchairs.
Okay. Yeah.
They fasten their wheelchairs down to the ground. And they sword fight from side to side.
From side to side.
Yeah. I'll
Wow.
show you some videos in the break.
Holy cow. I'd like to see that. That's neat. It's so cool with technology, how people who previously really couldn't be involved in sports. I think of the track things where guys can go hunting and go, pretty much do everything. When we were coming back from a diving trip once in Cozumel, it was a couple years ago, we sat next to someone and they're from this area. They take, disabled veterans and stuff, take them scuba diving. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's so cool. I wanted to be a part of that. I'm not that good of a diver that I could be, I'm happy to just survive myself, go down and come up and have a pulse. But I mean, it's amazing what people can do with the ever effervescent human spirit. When we come back, an analysis of what happened on Saturday with a self-defense expert on Wake Up Missouri. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up
back into Wake Up Missouri. We talk about ICE agents being at the Winter Olympics in Milan coming soon. When does that start, Drake? Well, I thought you knew about all things sports.
Yeah, do you really count?
You know what size shoes the third-string quarterback for the Houston Texas Oilers? What are they called, the Oilers?
It's the Texans
Houston Texans now. Yeah. Used to be the Houston Oilers.
I don't know foot size, but I do know a lot of quarterback hand sizes.
Yeah. I don't know. You're a sick man.
No, that's a real thing. It affects quarterbacks throwing.
The ability to,
grip on the ball. I have the same hand size as Joe Burrow. Did you know that?
That'll serve you well in the job world. That'll be good. Okay, here we go. All right. Actually, it may. I mean, there are people that actually care about that kind of stuff. That's good. If you care about that, that's beautiful. Let's take up rock tumbling together. All right, here we go. This is Andrew Branca, who says that the shooting of Alex Presti was justified.
Nothing's inconsistent with this being a lawful use of force by the officers.
Yeah, explain that a bit more. Many people still wondering if the shooting was legally justified, and given what you've been able to review up until now, what is your opinion?
Well, the legal question is, did the officers who shot Alex Presti have a reasonable, not necessarily correct, but a reasonable perception that he was presenting as an imminent, unlawful, deadly force threat? And that's presumed to be the case. A prosecutor would have to disprove that proposition beyond any reasonable doubt. So it's a very high burden to overcome that justification. And what evidence did these officers have? Well, the moment Alex Presti interfered with the arrest of the woman in the white coat, gets shoved by his CBP officer, he makes contact with that officer. The moment he makes contact with that officer, he's just committed a federal felony good for 8 years in a federal penitentiary. That's why they were seeking to make his arrest, because they saw him commit a forcible felony against a fellow officer. Then he's non-compliant with arrest. He's fighting them. Then they discover he has a gun on his person. They take that gun. There's cries of gun, gun, gun. The officers call to each other. He's still non-compliant. They hear a gunshot go off, and Alex Pretty's right hand comes from his waistline with a black object in his hand. That combination of facts is going to get you shot 999 times out of 1,000 by law enforcement, and justifiably so. They're making all these perceptions, all these decisions in a violent, chaotic melee caused by Alex Pretty. They have to make all these decisions in a split second, because that's how quick someone can use a weapon against you. And those decisions, again, they don't have to be correct. The law of self-defense does not require us to make perfect decisions. It requires us to make reasoned decisions, meaning you're applying your powers of reason to the facts presented to you. You're not making things up. You're not speculating someone could have a weapon. Now, probably the item in his hand would turn out to be maybe one of his spare magazines or maybe a cell phone, but it doesn't matter what it actually was.
Well, there you go. That lays it out there. And he did come in contact with the officer before they even got him to the ground. And I think that, it's so sad that this guy had to insert himself into this very, very violent, chaotic, rapidly evolving scene. And how many people he could have helped as a nurse if he had just minded his own business with a sign across the street. That's all good. Mind your own business. Jonathan Savage, when we come back from Fox News. abolish ICE, give ICE more authority, respect ICE. Well, what about ICE being overseas? We're reading about ICE being overseas. I don't know much about it, but Jonathan Savage from Fox News Radio knows about it. He joins us now on Wake Up Missouri. Jonathan, ICE in Italy? Is it that cold right now, or are we talking about something different?
Well, a bit of both. This is ICE at the Winter Olympics, and not the kind of ICE they like to see at the Winter Olympics. This is Immigration and Customs Enforcement carrying out an operation overseas during the upcoming Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina, which begins on February 6th, so very, very soon. We're told that they're not going to be carrying out immigration enforcement actions. They won't even appear on Italian streets, but ICE agents will be there to focus on counterterrorism, transnational crime, and looking at potential threats to U.S. delegations. We're told this has happened before. It's not been controversial before. It is controversial now, and the reaction in Italy has at times been somewhat furious.
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of Europeans, and probably, let's just say, anyone other than Americans who have a beef one way or another with America and with Donald Trump's style. Is that translating to Italy? And in this case, some of the maybe pushback against agents from our law enforcement community being there?
I mean, certainly the Trump administration policies are polarizing across the world, and events in Minneapolis, the images have been beamed onto TV screens and computer screens in every corner of the globe. High up news bulletins in here in the UK as well, and certainly in Italy. And that is why you have people like the mayor of Milan, one of the host cities, coming out to say that ICE is not welcome. He's calling them a militia that kills. So public anger has been growing in Italy, and we've now got parts of the coalition government in Italy saying that this is sheer idiocy to allow ICE into the country at a time when the organization, when the agency is so controversial.
I don't know. I mean, when you have all of these countries converging for the Olympics, are there different rules for who has the ultimate authority?
Yeah.
Well, the ultimate authority will rest with Italy's security service. The foreign minister of Italy says that their security services would be fully in charge, and the U.S. presence would be restricted to diplomatic sites. We're told it's not unusual for foreign delegations to bring with them security agencies in order to carry out whatever they feel they need to do in terms of investigation and highlighting potential threats. So these things do apparently happen. They just tend to happen at a much lower profile than we're seeing at the moment.
We're talking with Jonathan Savage from Fox News Radio about ICE agents, immigration and customs agent, being at the Milan Winter Olympics. It'll start just a little bit, but it shouldn't be lost on us, irrespective of what anyone says overseas, that there is a history of tragedy and terrorism in the Olympics. I'm thinking of the 72 Summer Olympics in Munich and the Palestinian attack. So it can happen. It has happened before.
It has. And when you mention that, I also think of Atlanta, 1996, the Olympics bombing there as well. That, of course, the Centennial Park, that caused death and injury. Two deaths, I believe, and over 100 people injured. So, yeah, these things can and do happen. High-profile events are always seen as targets for criminals, everything from people maybe illegally selling tickets to more higher profile and mass casualties. Here in London, where I live, there was before the 2012 Summer Olympics, there were anti-aircraft guns stationed on tower blocks. Such was the fear and the height of concern then. So yes, whenever they have these large events with the eyes of the world upon them, people will always be concerned that bad actors will view them as targets.
Jonathan, talk to us about how the Brit media is covering the ICE raids and all, also in light of the large immigrant community in the UK.
Yeah, certainly it is very, very high profile. I mean, if I look at, say, the most viewed news website in the UK from the BBC, which of course is very widely viewed on television, radio as well, this is probably the first day in several where events in Minneapolis has not been leading the news, or at least not been on the front page. There are correspondents and reporters in the U.S. from various British news agencies covering events on the ground and in Washington as well. And it's something that we're watching because we have a very strong fondness for your country. We have very strong ties and relations with your country. So we're all interested in what's happening, especially, of course, with the World Cup coming this summer. And there will be thousands of British soccer fans from Scotland, England, possibly Wales and Ireland as well, if Wales or Northern Ireland manages to get there, who are looking to come to the United States. And some of them are concerned about the welcome they will receive when they get there.
We're talking with Jonathan Savage, and we've been talking about ICE being, I'm thinking of them as basically, some bodyguards for our delegation at the upcoming Milan Olympics. Let me ask you, Jonathan, a little bit off that topic, but again, because I think to most Americans and people listening to this program, our relationship with the UK is a precious one. And I think just like we value our friends and neighbors that we hold close, we always want to be careful to, gauge how our interactions are, reverberating back to us in terms of how they're being comprehended. So with the recent 4D chess that some say Donald Trump has played with Greenland, if nothing else, to bring prominence to how important Greenland is in terms of security for the West. I mean, I don't think I was that aware of it. It appears to be a pretty important security for Western security when the likes of Russia and China seem to be wanting to dabble in everywhere that they previously didn't. Is it lost on folks in the UK that that's an important component of Western, security, notwithstanding Donald Trump's tactics as a separate matter?
I think British people, for them, it is growing on them, the importance of Greenland and Arctic security. And it is something which, in fact, is growing in importance as well as the ice melts and new sea lanes open up. So certainly has focused the minds of people on a new potential threat coming from the north. And with the UK, the sort of northwestern region of Europe, we see ourselves as having a role to play in Arctic security as well. The UK is a very active member of NATO, has, of course, a nuclear deterrent that forms part of NATO's nuclear deterrent, along with that of the United States, and feels that they want the US to be on board as a very strong ally of NATO, of the UK, and of Europe as a whole. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has since taking office, and since President Trump came to office, he has gone to great lengths to try and build a good relationship with the White House and the Trump administration. And the Greenland question was really the first time that he spoke openly in opposition to President Trump, which was a change in strategy. Keir Starmer right now is in China for the first visit from a British Prime Minister in years, and it's suggested that he is now trying to diversify British interests because of the Trump administration.
Well, he's not the only foreign leader that we've seen do that. And Stephanie, I know you've seen that. We've talked about Premier Carney in Canada and others. So, Jonathan, maybe they're all taking a page out of the same playbook. Like we're going to keep our portfolio diversified.
Yeah, they are. And we're hearing today from Kaja Kallas, who's the European Union's foreign affairs spokesman, and says that the shift in Washington that she has seen and that we're all seeing is one of the most significant issues that is facing Europe at the moment. The fact that the United States does not view Europe as a center of gravity. She said that NATO needs to become more European in order to maintain its strength, at the same time trying to maintain strong transatlantic ties and keeping the United States as an ally. So across Europe, politicians, they're scrambling to try to adapt to a new reality.
It is a new reality, and it's an interesting world that is evolving as we speak. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. A wide-ranging discussion this morning. Stay warm. Hope things aren't too frigid in your neck of the woods. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too. Jonathan Savage. Yeah, I think we hear that a lot about our relationship with other countries. And I guess it's a delicate one. We want to be America first, but we also probably want to make sure we maintain some kind of good offices with other nations, right, Stephanie? It's a delicate balancing act.
It certainly is.
I mean, in the past, I think people like Joe Biden let the rest of the world step on us and take advantage of America's prosperity and its shared prosperity. Donald Trump says, no, not going to happen anymore.
But it sometimes puts us in a precarious position with our allies.
And you wonder if the allies are, when they come on with some of the statements like Carney's made and Starmer's made with the Greenland thing, you wonder, is that just speaking to their own people? They need to show a little muscle, right? Against what they call the bully. I don't know. John?
Well, my take on it is what Steph has told us from her trips to Europe for business, that we're not the most popular folks out there, are we?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
When you were in Britain recently, within the last year or so, right? Mm-hmm. Do the native, traditional Englanders, do they resent the fact that there's these no-go zones with the Sharia law in place and stuff, or is it just something they don't talk about? They've accepted it just doesn't come up.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not something I've discussed with them. But yeah, anytime Trump comes up, it's not usually very positive.
I mean, can you imagine if that happened in? Okay, so you live in Fulton, Columbia, Mexico, Springfield, wherever, and can you imagine if suddenly in your town there was basically a block or two where you just didn't go, and they were under essentially their own home rule because the Muslims had taken over an area, and it was Sharia law. That would be the talk of the town, wouldn't it?
You would think.
I don't know.
Well, about Dearborn and Hamtramck, Michigan.
Well, you're right.
They had the mayor, shouted down the Christian preacher and said, they're going to run things their way. So it's not in place, but it's pretty darn close.
I don't care if they want to have, like up in Chicago, there's Greek town and there's, Chinatown, but they still live by American laws and American rules and American governance and the city governance. I don't get the carve-outs. And why would judges put up with that? I don't know. Got to be careful, or else if you don't protect your sovereignty, you're going to lose it. It's a good message from Trump, if nothing else. John, what's happening with your message when we come back?
Show me booty.
I have nothing further to say. John will help us unpack that when we come back. Okay.
It's
This.
The Pulaski County Sheriff is asking for your help in identifying a suspect accused of multiple thefts from Lion's Den, an adult store in Buckhorn, just down the road from Fort Leonard Wood. Suspect reportedly stole life-size adult novelty items, women's underwear, and other merchandise during several break-ins. Sheriff's office has dubbed him the Booty Bandit, and they need your help in catching him, sharing images of his clothing, and hope somebody recognizes the guy they call the cheek-chasing criminal. They say he seems to be drawn to life-size silicone rubber butts that the store stocks. Sheriff says he's hit the Lion's Den several times. It's not curiosity. That's what we call premeditated booty behavior. They couldn't say if he was drawn to life-size, anatomically correct inflatable girlfriends or the electrically powered marital aids department at the Lion's Den in Buckhorn, Missouri. As Mark Ellinger would say, Missouri.
Now, maybe he just works at the simulation lab at one of the medical schools.
Could be a deep dive by some of the special ops guys from Fort Wood.
Could be.
Never know.
Or he's practicing learning to do Brazilian butt lifts.
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be.
In that same realm, did you see Sydney Sweeney got herself in a little trouble?
No.
Over silicone butts?
I'm not on that side of
She
TikTok.
has a lingerie line, and apparently as a publicity stunt, Drake Whitman just dislocated his jaw. It dropped so far.
I didn't know she had a lingerie line.
Apparently she has a lingerie line.
Don't search it on the work computer.
Now this was on national news. There's nothing new. And apparently the Hollywood sign out there.
Oh, that's
She
right.
apparently took a bunch of bras put together and strung them up there like some kind of a sign of, whatever. Yeah.
As a marketing tactic.
marketing sign.
And now she's in trouble for it.
There's a bar down in Destin. The Missouri Riviera down there in Destin, Florida. McGuire's. It's an Irish bar.
Where you string your bra?
Yep, that's what they do. Yep.
That's a thing on...
great place. It really is a great place.
I'm trying
Good
to
food.
remember where it was, but I think someone was telling that, and this could be lore, but I think it was a ski instructor, and there's a tree, because a lot of times people throw Mardi Gras beads into the trees off the ski lift, but there's one where it's covered in bras, and I think he said it started maybe because they first didn't allow women to be ski instructors, and when women were finally allowed to be ski instructors, they ripped their bra, which is, it's cold out there.
I know, it's
rip
cold
their
out
bra
there.
off and throw it in the tree
Wow,
off the ski lift.
Oh, yeah, that goes in the ski country. That goes back to like the 70s. You pick anywhere, Aspen, Vale, anywhere. Oh, where's the bra tree? Oh, it's right over there. Yeah, that's a big thing. It's been around for a long time.
Wow.
I'm Googling. According to Mountain Life Media, John's right. A bra tree, a throwing tradition. Oh, my goodness.
Do people still throw bras onto the tree? I'm asking for a friend.
I don't know that I've seen a bra tree, but I'm going to keep my eyes peeled next time.
So, yeah, Sweeney got herself in a little trouble, apparently climbed onto and you could tell, I saw the video of it, and she's just sort of chuckling, and, that woman, well, maybe that brings the whole idea of the bra on the tree, that brings new thoughts about maybe.
She doesn't even wear a bra. Did you see that last dress she wore that was completely sheer? Yeah. There was no bra. And you could see it all.
I don't look at those pictures.
Well, I can pull it up for you, but.
Do you think so when you have a ski competition like the world competition called the World Cup, does it take on new?
Oh my gosh.
Does it take on new meaning? Just saying.
Get us out of here.
I'm sorry. It's the best I can do this time of the morning. When we come back, we talk with Frank Catanzaro, see what's going on in the mind of young Republicans in Missouri in this pre-election season. Stay tuned.
Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team.
And go hit the ground hard and relentlessly.
And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
And when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists. These are paid agitators. These people are normal, like, that, they're incensed about anything. How do you get incensed when you go into a state and you're taking criminals out? You're taking monsters out.
Well, that was President Trump in Iowa yesterday, ahead of his speech, where affordability was on the top of the dais, as well as celebrating some of the victories with shutting down the border. I think victories in terms of our posture against other bad actors across the globe, and really highlighting a lot of the great successes. However, his numbers just aren't where I think anyone in the conservative land would like to be ahead of the midterms. An important and growing and influential body of voters are the young people, and within the conservative/Republican movement, young Republicans. We happen to have the chairman of the Missouri Young Republicans with us now. His name is Frank Catanzaro. How you doing, Frank? Thanks for being with us.
Hey, good morning, Randy. Good morning to all your listeners. Thanks for having me on.
So it's amazing how the news cycle determines the narrative of the day and gives fuel to one side or the other. And I think currently some of the administration officials are probably a little on the ropes for some overspeech. But aside from that, I mean, if you look at the overall record of the first year of Donald Trump, while it's been tumultuous, it's hard to deny that some of the top items that got him elected, immigration, inflation's down, a lot of good things. How is that being digested and processed by the Missouri Young Republicans?
Oh, absolutely, Randy. And I want to remind viewers that young Republicans, they're between the ages of 18 and 40. We're a lively, active group here in the state of Missouri and all around the country. We have hundreds of members alone just here in the state of Missouri at all of our 6 chapters in St. Louis, Kansas City, mid-Missouri, down in Springfield, and we have a new chapter that are growing right outside of our major metro area in St. Louis. So
cool.
Really vibrant group. And I can tell you that young people, we're impacted by the same issues that impact all voters. It's affordability, it's security, it's ensuring that, we have a quality country where people feel safe. And I can tell you immigration reform has been a huge issue. And it's been one of the issues that President Trump ran on very strongly, and he's actually delivered on very strongly. And if you actually look at polling data, President Trump has won astoundingly over months on how well he's handled the border crisis, that we've been able to secure our border. We have had essentially 0 border crossings since he's taken office, and cleaning up 4 years of bad policy by the Biden administration. But what we're seeing right now is a little bit of a dip in the polls due to some of the chaos we're seeing all across the country in places like Minnesota. And there's been some disagreement among all voters on how that should be handled.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about motivation. I think perhaps some of the recent, I think Republicans are concerned that this ICE issue is really going to motivate the Democrats from the left to get out to the polls in the midterms. And so many times, as you know, especially with local and state elections, they come down to turnout. Are young voters energized enough right now to get out to the polls?
Well, so young voters typically don't show up in midterm years to begin with. It's been very difficult to motivate our voting base. And that's on both sides. That's young voters on the Democrat and Republican-leaning side to get out and vote in these midterm races. Now, like you said, there are key issues that could impact and get voters energized to come out. And the Democrats are really hoping, because they really have nothing to run on. There's a reason why young voters flocked to the Republican Party in 2024. It's because, one, the Democrats had 4 years to try to improve this country, and they made it far worse. And we're trying to undo 4 years of bad policy by the Democrats right now. And it has growing pains, and it's not going to happen overnight, but we've seen significant gains, whether it comes to the economy, whether it comes to affordability, but we're not quite there yet. And so the Democrats are looking at immigration. They're looking at the chaos that, in all way of saying it, they've actually added fuel to the fire and created more chaos in some of these places, and they're trying to run on that issue right now. Now, whether or not that motivates voters in the fall, we'll just have to see.
We're talking with Frank Catanzaro. He's the chairman of the Missouri Young Republicans about that block from 18 to 40, whether there's that motivation, that energy, that zest, that zeal to get out there and enable a majority House and Senate to continue the Trump agenda. He joins us on Wake Up Missouri this morning.
What are you hearing from your GOP young colleagues about the governor's call for ultimately eliminating the state income tax, and also a call at the Capitol to readdress real property and personal property taxes?
Two really important issues that all voters are interested in, especially young voters. I can tell you that coming out of college, a lot of young voters are shocked at how much is taken out of their taxes when they get their first paycheck. And a lot of that is going to income taxes, whether it's at the state or the federal level. Here in Missouri, we're looking at eventually lowering and eliminating the income tax. It's an issue I think will make it to the ballot this fall. And, it'll be a responsible approach. Now, to my understanding, this fall, what we see on the ballot, whatever the legislature passes before the end of session this May that will be on the ballot this fall, will just gather approval from the voters to say, hey, state of Missouri, we want to see you. We want an income tax cut, or we want to eliminate the income tax. We want you to create that framework when you come back upon approval from us. So I think it's going to be a slow but very methodical approach, unlike what we've seen in other states like Kansas. And I think we eventually will have zero income tax in the state of Missouri. And then on the property tax side, property tax relief is an issue that a lot of folks in our major metro areas desperately need, whether that's Kansas City, St. Louis. They have seen skyrocketing property taxes. And it's one of the reasons on top of the mortgage rates right now, why young people can't even afford homes. Once they afford a home, they might not be able to afford the property tax rate. So seeing some property tax relief is going to be a key winning issue for all people, and especially whichever party leads and ushers that win in.
Frank, it's both a national legislative topic in the Senate in D.C. and here in Missouri, in the Capitol, in Jefferson City. And that is sort of like whether or not the majority of the House, the Senate, the chamber, should really sort of squash the filibuster, right? Should they basically use the previous question here, or just the nuclear option in D.C.? How does your group feel about that? Is it split? Is it like full steam ahead? What's the temperature?
Well, I think it's split, and I personally believe the filibuster is an important tool. I don't think we should totally eliminate it. I do think if you get to a point when all types of debate and trying to compromise and find, a common ground is exhausted, that you need to pull the trigger. You need to have that filibuster used, whether it's at the state or the federal level.
It's a tough one, and I know where I stand on it, but I think there's very reasonable people that say, hey, you start setting that precedent, and then there goes the Harry Reid ploy, right? I mean, that's what happened with federal judges, and if and when, it's not a matter of if, it's when the other party gets control, then they'll use that too.
Talk to us about the mission of the Young Republicans. You said you started up a new chapter. I know we've got statewide Lincoln Days coming up and lots of county events. What does 2026 look like for the Missouri Young Republicans?
Well, we are growing in leaps and bounds. Like you just mentioned, we have a brand new chapter we just started in Jefferson County. I also run the St. Louis Young Republicans. I've been a part of that organization since I graduated college, which I don't even want to say how many years ago that was. But we are growing at an astronomical rate. So many young people want to get involved. They want to make a difference. And our organization is here to give young people that opportunity to get engaged with their local and state races, to maybe run for office themselves. And, I really urge your listeners, if you live in an area that doesn't have a Young Republican chapter and you have a large group of young people that want to get engaged, have them reach out to us. We'd love to charter them, get them set up as a chapter so they can help grow this conservative movement in the state of Missouri.
How do they do that? How do they reach out to you or whoever is the organizer of chapter planting?
Yeah, they can find us on our website. It's MissouriYRs.com, or just search Missouri Young Republicans on Google. Look for us on Facebook and just send us a message or an email.
All right, Frank Catanzaro, boy, you've got a lot of oars in the water, brother. Thanks for leading the charge among young people, and it is so important. I mean, this group of folks is going to be determining what happens in the way the ship of state sails in the upcoming not too distant future. Now, I think it's pretty much, if not the wingman, pretty much handling the yoke of the airplane real soon. Hey, thanks for being with us, Frank. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right. And it's really true. I mean, in terms of a voting bloc and voting power, both, that group, and I think the senior citizens continue to remain strong, but I think they're being outflanked now by the others. And Drake, I don't think you count. Well, no, you're part of the young ones, yeah.
Did you say that the elderly hold strong? I thought that they went really left this.
They show out. They show up. The 65 plus group has an amazing track record for showing up at the polls. They tend to do that a lot.
Did you hear that at the nursing home, Randy?
No, John told me about that where he heard it at the nursing home.
What's that? What'd you say?
Hey. You asked Stephanie about motivation and energy, and it's true that generally young people don't, and the younger they are, the truer it is, I think, less likely to show up in any election, but especially in midterms. But yet we hear about all this energy about young women in particular. They've got I'm reading 60, 70, 80% sort of Democrat leaning now at this point, even if they label themselves as independent. This cycle, they're leaning to the left.
Yeah, and I think, that's what we know is they got really energized for Trump. I mean, we saw, social media posts from fraternities here at Mizzou, right? Young men really got energized for Trump. And I think the question becomes, if Trump's not at the top of the ticket, are those same people who showed up and carried him over the finish line going to show up and help us win in the midterms? And I don't know what that issue is. I think what we're hearing is it's probably the economy. Yeah. But again, what we talked about this morning in that consumer confidence numbers are out and they're not great. Consumers, young and old, are not feeling good. And is that something that, we can fix in the next not too little while?
That's why this shutdown's important, because I don't know if it'll affect it. But, they started the tax season earlier to get people refunds sooner. But if we have a shutdown, and Treasury is a part of that, I think, as I understand it, I wonder if it'll affect that and if that'll delay some of the realization of the OBBB, right? And
yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think if these young folks are getting big tax refunds, that could matter. I don't know that the $1,000 Trump accounts, they did say up to 40, so certainly people in their 30s are probably having kids and might be, eligible for one of the Trump accounts, but is $1,000 that your kid might realize at some point later enough to motivate you to get to the polls? I don't know.
Well, I know Drake has accelerated his search for a mate just so he can take advantage, have a baby and take advantage of that Trump account. Got to get on it. All right, when we come back, we'll see what the markets think of this with the Morning Bell.
It's Wake
How's it looking, Stephanie?
Well, the S&P hit a new record yesterday. The Dow's day was not great because there was a massive sell-off in healthcare. Apparently, United Health plunged nearly 20% after the Trump administration proposed keeping Medicare Advantage rates flat. So looking at the percentage change, we saw the Dow down 0.83%, the S&P up 0.41%, NASDAQ up 0.91%. Again, health was the biggest loser yesterday. And amongst the gainers, we saw big gains in energy, utilities, and technology. Of course, it's a big earnings report week for a lot of those tech companies. We talked a little bit yesterday about things that Gen Z's killing. Apparently, current employees and younger employees are killing the 9-to-5 workday, but something that is making a resurgence is also related to another business topic we talked about. But I thought we had decided we're not co-working anymore. Remember WeWork and how they went bankrupt, and it was a really hot thing for a while, and a lot of even co-working places popped up around mid-Missouri. You could go, just share an office space with other maybe freelancers or other folks, and it was really seen as maybe a new exciting thing. And for whatever reason, people weren't adopting it, and they said, maybe I could just work at my kitchen table. But it's making a comeback.
Wow.
So co-working space has grown from 115 million square feet with 5,800 locations 3 years ago to 158 million square feet, and that's 8,800 locations today. So it's still below pre-pandemic levels, but that's quite a big increase in just 3 years. The reasons why they're saying this co-working, for the co-working resurgence, is just economic uncertainty, AI adoption, hybrid work models, and this flexible work arrangements can so if companies are feeling less confident. We talked about consumer confidence today, but if, I'm not going to sign a big long-term lease or build a fancy new building, maybe I'm going to do these small, more temporary arrangements, have smaller offices, and
rather than plunge in and take a real commitment.
That mitigates some of the risk, but it is, an opportunity for folks looking to invest or looking to start up these co-working spaces that people are really, they're making a huge comeback.
I would think the real key there would be, how does that appeal to, or not, the physical space, and how much does it resemble a real office to the client, right? I mean, if it just seems like you're just renting a room with a table,
Yeah, I think, but I mean, how many meetings are people taking on Zoom? And then they put like a fake background in, and you can't even tell that they're, where they are, if they're in their bedroom or if they're in Cabo or something, right?
True.
You can
and it's one of those kind of deals, too. They make a big deal about, they've got real high-speed internet and Wi-Fi ready for you. A lot of them, I remember, I think Fox did a piece on them where they even had somebody making the coffee for you so you could just cruise right in and do the co-working thing.
And a working printer.
Yeah. And if you're just an occasional user of whatever service or business, you appreciate that you're not having to pay, presumably, for that built-in cost center, right?
Certainly it could lower your overhead.
I remember.
But I think interestingly, I kind of think of co-working as like, small business type things, freelancers. But they're saying even large companies are taking advantage of this new co-working trend.
Wow.
And
It'd be good for startups, I think.
Yeah. The world of work is changing, both from the employer, the employee, and the customer side. There is no doubt about that. Tom Holman up in Minneapolis. Did you know that he and Barack were BFFs? I didn't know that. We'll talk about that and keep an eye on things up there when we come back. Well, Tom Homan is up in Minneapolis, hasn't yet made a statement, but apparently he's talking to officials up there, trying to get some collaboration with local officials, especially in those criminals, aliens that are detained, because Governor Walz has, I think, been trying to split hairs when he says that they have cooperated. I think he's talking about people in prison as opposed to local jails that are being held in detention. Nonetheless, did you know that during the Obama administration, Tom Homan actually got a medal, which is one of the highest medals that a civilian could get, called the Presidential Rank Award in 2015? Distinguished Executive. He was the Executive Associate Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations, and that's widely thought of as the real pivotal person in charge of deportation. So he was like the deporter-in-chief. The big enforcement role within ICE, though not agency-wide. So he got this honor, and in the peak years, out of about 2 million that were deported during Obama's 2 terms, in his peak year, 2013, 14, 12 or 13, about 430 removals. Some sources say 409,000 removals, not 432, but 432,000. Some say 409,000. But last year, in 25, reports, as best I can tell, and there's a lot of different numbers out there, but it looks like almost 300,000 in 25. So he hasn't yet peaked during Trump where he peaked during Obama. You know what the big difference is there? Judicial obstruction, other process issues, and they're saying that they had operational constraints, diplomatic issues, getting home countries to accept these deportees. So the mess that Biden created was not only just letting people in willy-nilly, just pretty much open borders, but also mucking up the system, failing to make sure that the system was as cumbersome as it can be, making it even more cumbersome, and to get people out when they could. I think it was a coordinated effort, but I think Homan has a good shot at maybe doing some work up there to focus on the worst of the worst. And those of us who would like to see all illegals deported, no matter how long they've been here, I'm in that camp. I mean, sadly, that's the case, but, it's the case. Let's at least get the ones out that everyone agrees. That's an 80% issue, right, Steph? Everyone agrees. 80% of Americans agree. We got to get the criminals out. Why they haven't beat that drum more, and I think Kristi Noem has made a mistake there in not, you can talk about what happened at the moment during the shootings of Renee Good and Alex, Pristy. But by the same token, you've got to be focusing on why ICE is there, why they are there, what are they doing. Keep showing the lists of the people and the crimes that those illegal aliens have committed, and keep the voters' eyes on the prize, just like the president on his tour that he launched in Iowa ahead of the midterms. Keep the eye on the prize. Yeah, inflation has not gone away, but it's certainly moderated, and it's a heck of a lot better than, 9.5%, almost 10% under Biden?
Yeah, I mean, I think these common sense solutions, right? And so I think trying to de-escalate the rhetoric right now is what Trump is trying to do. We're not seeing it from the left. I think he took, one step forward on that with bringing in Homan, who I think is respected by both sides. And then, focusing on things like the economy, but other common sense solutions. I mean, you talk about illegal immigrants, but also, I heard Senator Schmidt talk here recently about his new bill to denaturalize these folks who are committing these frauds and felonies and violence against Americans. I think, you talk about it being an 80% issue. I think this is important to people. And when we talked to Frank about young Republicans, he said economy and security, being able to walk in downtown Columbia, being able to, buy a house, those kinds of things. But for some reason, I don't think it's necessarily resonating. At least it's not showing up in the polls.
No. And I know that you in Tobler and, Wake Up Nation, like the Tobler household, we're getting our stuff together to go to the tax, to the accountant, getting everything ready. And this season, more than any, no one likes this season when you have to pony up. If you're, we're largely self-employed, and so you have to pony up and pay your quarterly and everything. And but however the tax thing is, when that's on your mind, and then you think about how your taxes in some way are funding this fraud at just a tremendous and epic level up there, and how the focus has been conveniently taken off of that by the ongoing anti-ICE narrative. I don't know. I can't get into the mind of Walls and Fry, but I just can't help but think that, and Omar, that maybe there's a distraction technique purposefully in place there. I don't know. John, is that overreading it?
No, I don't think so. And I think what has DHS said for the whole period of last year, they were like at 500,000 or 600,000 deportations, and the numbers are kind of all over on the operation going in the Twin Cities, anywhere from a couple thousand to 10,000 if you believe DHS. But yeah, I think for a lot of people out there, since Monday was the first day to file your taxes, if you wanted to get them in early, they do have those kind of questions. It's like, I work hard for this money, and the big boys take a pretty good chunk of it. Yes. What are they doing with it?
Yes, sir. I mean, you want accountability with the money that you give to anyone. If it's a charity, you always look up and see, what's their administrative expense? Have there been any scandals? Have there been? I know I saw the Tunnels to Towers commercial last night. And I asked Helene, you don't see as many Wounded Warrior commercials. She reminded me there was a big scandal in Wounded Warriors. I think they've probably righted their ship now, but so whenever you give money to anyone, and we are giving our hard earnings to the government to do things for us or things that our officials have deemed to be done for other people, you just don't want to be made a fool of by being defrauded. And I think that's sort of at the heart of this. I saw an interesting story that we talk a lot about criminality, whether it's white collar crime, whether it's gang violence, whether it's, young people murdering. We see these youth the other day, the 3 people that went into, 4 of them, I got 3 in the car and 1 in the house that went in, and they had this cell phone scam, and they murdered this Marine veteran and ex-Columbia firefighter. And we talk about juvenile justice. Well, Sweden is moving forward with plans to lower the age of criminal responsibility. Theirs is at 15 now. 15. Wow. They're lowering it. They want to move it down to 13 in serious cases. They're having also a growing number of children, according to the BBC, that are recruited into gangs to carry out violent crimes. Sound like a community near you?
I mean, it was just a juvenile who killed that guy over the cell phone.
That's right. And we don't know his name because he's a juvenile. But the other ones were in the adult, 18, right? Now, some have opposed the plan over in Sweden, saying it may lead to even younger children becoming offenders. I don't know. The justice minister there, Gunnar Strömmer, my name is Gunnar Strömmer, I'm the justice minister, said that Sweden is in an emergency situation, and stopping the use of children in criminal networks was a crucial task. I don't know. Do we have formal criminal gang networks recruiting children out of our schools? I don't know. But certainly somehow kids that don't have proper supervision and don't have the right guardrails and accountability factors in place, I think that they're vulnerable to this gang mentality. They're part of something, right?
Well, and I know that when I read the news story on what Denmark plans to do, they singled out, said these are ethnic gangs with Turks and people from the Middle East that are heavily fueling these gangs, and it's, kids of like ethnicity are being recruited into them.
I don't know. I just think that 15 is the existing rate. Maybe we would be well informed in this nation to make. I mean, these kids. We talk a lot about social media and the fact that whenever they get it, they're exposed to the kind of things and the kind of inputs into their world and knowledge. They eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge sooner than we did without social media. Oh boy, I'm going to take a whipping from Stephanie Bell.
Randy talks about
Don't you think that they grow up sooner? Don't you think your kids are growing up you know what I mean by that? They're growing up. They have more awareness of worldly things now than you did. And didn't you have more than your parents? Because technology and information is just everywhere. Even if it's not overt, even if they're not on their tablet.
I might agree with that. I might not think it's the worst thing, which is, I think, what you're suggesting.
Well, I think they're growing up at a time when that information isn't processed as well as if they were a couple years down the road. But it is being processed. So maybe part of the growing up experience is, being treated like adult if you do adult things at a younger age. Part of growing up is paying for your mistakes. It's the way you learn.
But I also think, if you talk to the criminal justice reformers, and I've heard Jennifer Bukowski, who has a show on the Eagle on Sunday mornings, and you'll hear her on Gary Nolan as well, has said, no one is stupider than you are when you're 19, right? And that, in some instances, it doesn't make sense to ruin someone's entire life for a mistake they made when they were a youth.
Well, but again, I don't know that I would advocate ruining them for their entire life, but I think making them more accountable and having them feel it more harshly than we do might help them grow up quicker. It's love. It's tough love.
Well, the juvenile justice reform side, and you hear the debates at the state house, even on the Missouri level, they talk about, this isn't for the average juvenile criminal they're talking about. They're talking about juveniles who are multiple repeat offenders with the most violent of crimes and getting off, comparatively speaking, with a wrist slap as opposed to facing adult charges.
Well, we all have our limits, right? Everyone has their individual window of grace, and there's some kind of a civil and a criminal window of grace with different levels of penalty depending on a person's history and the severity of their crime. You just look at overall, it just seems as though we have, without that some accountability factor, these kids at younger ages are doing, it just seems in the time I've been here, seems like we're having younger and younger kids doing more heinous and heinous things. Maybe that's anecdotal. I don't know.
No, I think that's accurate.
So we have to address it. It's a societal problem. And I don't disagree with the people that say this is a social problem as well, right? It's a cultural problem we need to deal with too. So maybe it has to do with schools and, making people accountable there before they get violent and do crazy things. All right. When we come back, we'll wrap it up on Wake Up Missouri with the leftover segment. That coming up in 5.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri as we continue to watch the torment and tumult up in Minnesota and Minneapolis. We'll keep our eye on that for you. But there are other things going on and other things to talk about. Stephanie, what do you have?
We've talked several times on the program to Representative Rudy Veit from Mid-Missouri about his want to re-implement the Missouri presidential primary. We reverted to the caucus process, and I guess also Representative Peggy McGaugh is one who's been supporting this. So there's a wide-ranging elections bill in a House committee, and they stripped out the presidential primary of that bill and went ahead and voted it forward. So it's not a good first step if they're going to try to get that done. Now, certainly it could be added to a different bill. It could be done separately. But apparently, at least some folks on that committee don't want to do it. And I think the argument, I think there's good arguments in favor of it, right? Especially, if you're military or you're, a weekend worker, maybe you can't participate in the caucus process. Folks who don't like the presidential primary, the reason why I think it was removed was it costs the state money to hold an election. So.
Well, I saw as part of that, it was hard for me to discern, but it seemed to me as though maybe part of the provision that was included in that particular package that they stripped out of the elections bill was extended voting, like for 4 weeks, early voting. So maybe that's what got in the way. I don't know.
Potentially. So right now, Missourians have, it's kind of holdover from COVID, but we can do no excuse absentee up until, I think, 2 weeks. 2? And I think this bill would have extended it to 4 weeks.
So, John, maybe I know Rudy Veit was big on restoring the presidential preference.
He's carried that bill several times.
So we'll talk. Maybe we can talk with him in the next little while on that. We'll see. What do you have, John?
Well, this is one from the weekend. How about some Missouri animals who picked the wrong day to try their luck at ice skating? Turns out firefighters in Cuba, Missouri, had to pull 2 horses out of a farm pond after they fell through the ice on Monday.
Oh, my.
And St. Louis crews put up pictures of them rescuing a German Shepherd that went through the ice there.
Yikes.
So all the talk about the ponds are ready for ice skating. You might check with the horse or the big stock dog first before you venture out.
That's interesting because there's a story in Columbia about Stevens Lake Park skating.
Columbia Parks and Rec just opened Stevens Lake Park for ice skating. Have you skated on a lake before?
No, I fished on a lake.
I just did it out in Keystone, and it was pretty exciting. Although they said it was the nation's largest natural lake that they would run a Zamboni on, but that day they weren't running the Zamboni because the ice wasn't thick enough. And so,
thick enough for you, but not thick enough for the Zamboni.
Yeah, as I'm signing all of the waivers and everything else, I'm like, how thick exactly is the ice? Because I really, it sounds like maybe the horses should have given that a second thought.
Well, I would think in your local lake or pond or whatever, after a while, it probably gets pretty beat up and isn't very smooth anyway, is it?
This one wasn't the smoothest ice. But apparently, if you can put the Zamboni on it, it's pretty good.
Did you fall and go boom very much or no?
Just once.
Just once?
Just once. I wasn't going very fast.
Yeah. Drake, do you do ice skating?
Never skated in my life.
Really?
Roller skating? Nothing?
You have to get down to Washington Park in Jefferson City. It's super fun. I think the fun part about the lake at Washington Park, it's like you're on just like a track. You just skate in a circle over and over and over. At the lake, you could kind of just do whatever you wanted, which was neat. But yeah, you should. I think Mizzou plays KU hockey.
Now they're talking about putting in a Mizzou women's team to play there.
Really?
No, they've already announced it in 2027. They're going to bring a women's hockey team to Mizzou.
Well, the Mizzou KU games are this weekend, and you can.
Well, that's a club team.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
It's not officiated by actual NCAA, but there's going to be an actual NCAA regulated women's the hockey team.
Speaking of Mizzou sports, did the women's basketball team show up for Alabama last night on the men's?
Gosh,
or was it the men's team playing?
It was ugly.
Kind of a long evening.
Oh, did you have to go there, Randy?
Yes, I did. Thank you. You're welcome. Well, maybe that's why their athletics trimmed their budget, their deficit to $9 million in fiscal year 25. Remember, it was like 20 some odd million. So it was reported that they're going to get a loan from the university because all of the athletics only had a $9 million deficit. Well, that'll wrap it up for today's show. We'll bring you another episode tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Thanks for being here today.
Bye.